Weekdays 6 Eastern.
What does the Shirley Sherrod case say about the internet and our society and the ability of anyone to ruin somebody's life simply by posting something out of context on the internet?
Well, certainly this lady, I'm not sure if her life has been ruined. I think her life in some ways has actually been made more interesting. In a sense, perhaps she's won the lottery. In a sense, she won a lottery ticket and then lost it and then found it again. I think what it says generally is that the internet is a mirror. It reflects us. It's easy to blame the internet, but we have to take responsibility for it because the internet is us. The internet enables anyone to publish anything, either by taking responsibility for what they publish or by doing it anonymously, either by trying to publish the truth or by publishing malicious rumor, as this fellow did in this case. What I think it reflects is a certain sort of paranoia about media, an obsession with conspiracy, a kind of a lunacy that reflects us, an extremism, a bitterness, but also a degree of responsibility. I think this case is interesting because it shows the worst of the internet in the sense that someone printed a lie or published a lie, which then was virally spread and almost ruined her life. But then part of the internet and also mainstream media guys like you came to the rescue and you sorted the case out. You showed that it was a lie. You revealed the fact, the reality, the truth, which was actually the very opposite of what was published. What I think we need to think about, though, is if that hadn't existed. What happened if all we had was rumor, all we had were these malicious people on the internet printing stuff or publishing stuff to suit their own agendas. And that's really scary. We do need a gatekeeper here, someone to keep score and tell the truth.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about the gatekeeper in just a second and who that should be. But, you know, this particular case, this was a very high-profile one because Secretary of Agriculture was involved. But how many times across the spectrum of the internet does something similar to this happen where we don't come in and tell the real story? Can someone's enemy simply post something online and begin to whittle away at that person's reputation simply by putting it out there in a place where this stuff goes viral in a heartbeat?
Absolutely. We live in what people now are calling the age of reputation. We all have to take responsibility for our reputations online. We have our Facebook pages, we have our Twitter feeds, and that, for better or worse, is the reality of our age. It's all too easy to ruin people's reputations. There are young women who have committed suicide after people spread malicious rumors about them. There are people whose careers are ruined every day through the internet. There are businesses on sites like Yelp which are ruined by their rivals. When you don't have a gatekeeper, when you don't have an official, relatively honest, non-anonymous middleman who's keeping score, anyone can publish anything about anyone or any business and essentially undermine them. And that's what's going on a lot on the internet. When you go to these consumer sites, often you're reading reviews published by rivals. It's very, very unreliable. It brings out our worst. It brings out our most dishonest side, because when you can publish something without taking responsibility, it's like the intellectual property stuff. If you're able to steal stuff online, you do it. It doesn't necessarily mean you're evil, but it brings out the worst in us.
Okay, so here's the really controversial issue, and it gets right to the heart of the First Amendment. Who should be the gatekeeper here if there is to be one?
Has to be you, John, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, we do the follow-up. In this particular case, we did the follow-up work, but somebody in person in our position can't police the internet.
Well, you can't. I don't know if I can replicate John's all over the place, but I mean, we need CNN, we need NPR, we need relatively honest middlemen who are able to take the facts, because there are always facts in these cases, and actually investigate. And you've got to pay your journalists. You've got to have journalists who aren't anonymous, who aren't peddling an agenda. I think one of the most dangerous illusions or delusions that's going on at the moment is there are some people who are arguing that all news by definition is biased. All news promotes a certain agenda, that no fact is actually independent of one's views. And if that's the case, then news services should be biased. But I don't think that's true. I think this case shows that some things are lies and some things are true. And you need a professional media to actually sort out the truth from the lies. It's very simple. And that media is the very backbone of democracy. When you do away with it, then you just have mob rule.
Yeah, well, some people say, though, that the internet is democracy in action, and as Donald Rumsfeld once said, democracy is often messy. But I wanted to ask you very quickly about...
Well, but let me say... But let me just respond to that, because we live in a representative democracy. These debates were fought out at the foundation of this country. Mm-hmm. The debate between direct and representative democracy. The internet is media, it's not politics. And that's a fundamental error, to misrepresent it and to present it as a form of direct democracy, which was actually rejected by the founders of this country in the first place.